Ask everyone to stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's invocation is being offered by Pastor Glenn Clay of the First Community Church. He is the guest of Council Member Jerry Maynard.
Vice Mayor, neighbors, to the council, I want to say a special hi to our council lady, Edith Langston Taylor, to State Representative Gilmore, Mr. Lawson, to the council, and to all the great people of Nashville. Please bow your heads with me at this time. Heavenly Father, we pray for all council members, the mayor and governor, that your spirit rest upon them. We believe that your skillful and godly wisdom has entered into the hearts of our council members, mayor, and governor. And their ears are attentive to your godly counsel. Lord, make them men and women of your integrity, that we may lead a quiet and peaceful life in all godliness and honesty. We pray, God, Heavenly Father, you are our refuge and stronghold in times of trouble. So we will declare that with our mouths that your people dwell safely in this land and we prosper abundantly. We are more than conquerors. We give thanks unto you, Lord. The good news of the gospel is published in our land. The word of the Lord prevails and grows mightily in the hearts and lives of the people. We give thanks for this land and the leaders you've given us. Now to him that is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy. To the only wise God, our Savior, be glory, majesty, dominion, and power, both now and ever. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for the adoption of our minutes from our August 6th meeting? We have a motion and a second. Without objection, the minutes will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
The mayor has no messages.
Okay, thank you. Council Member Johnson, you have a presentation?
I'd like to ask Attorney David Wainick and his beautiful wife Becky Wainick and daughter and all of the staff and people of Nashville and District 29 to come up around the podium, please. Also, all council members, because many of your signatures are on here, if you will also join me as well. Tonight is a special night for our community and the city of Nashville because we're recognizing someone who definitely puts his heart, his investment into the people of this city and our community. Your efforts to revitalize District 29 and the Nashville Golf Course are to be commended. You have definitely increased our quality of life. I also want to say thank you to your staff and your family who have been outstanding. They have taken tireless hours and time to make the golf course what it is today, the #1 greens in Nashville. So this resolution is recognizing both David and Becky Wainick, owners of the Nashville Golf Course, whereas David and Becky Wainick, owners along with friends and family, recently celebrated the 1-year anniversary of the operation of the Nashville Golf Course, of which they brought last year to save and restore it to its former success. And whereas David and Becky Wainick's efforts have not gone unnoticed as they work tirelessly on behalf of the Nashboro and surrounding communities in preserving the Grandale Manor and providing affordable access to the game of golf by also preserving and restoring the area's golf course to its original appeal. And whereas golf courses provide a focus for healthful, social, and family activity, as well as habitat for a broad range of wildlife in heavily urbanized areas, and whereas they have made tremendous improvements and are committed to the long-term success of the course and the community for which it supports and surrounds, and whereas Jeff Page, PGA head golf professional, managed the golf course, Lynn Ray of Golf Management Group, Inc., consultant, and Bill Riley Jr. served as superintendent over ground maintenance. All were instrumental in improving the Nashboro Golf Course. And where it is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council recognizes community leaders David and Becky Wainick for your accomplishments with the Nashboro Golf Course. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. We hereby go on record as recognizing both of you, your friends, your family on this success. Thank you. We are presenting this proclamation from the Vice Mayor and the Council to both you and your wife and all of the staff and your family and friends on this success with the golf course. It means a great deal to our city. And at this time, would you like to say a few words?
Having served as a mayor for two terms in Sister City, I'll make it brief. But I would say to you, I did witness a miracle in this process over a year ago. The Parks Board had done the heavy lifting and decided to purchase this greens area. I'm sure you're aware of that. We became involved at the 11th hour. And of course, the council lady was very involved at that point. And I watched a 180-degree turn from the Parks Board, which I don't think I've ever seen the whole time I served in public. Not this Parks Board, but in my experience personally. And this council, and gave us this opportunity, which made that yoke a little heavier to bear. But I do want to tell you that it is a success. It's an honor to have that opportunity to, and the trust that people have placed in us to do it. We're blessed with a great team. We are paying over $200,000 a year to state and local taxes now, you'll be happy to know. And our payroll is over $200,000 a year, all of which would have gone away if we'd have gone the other route. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity you've given us to do this. Our commitment to this council and to the council lady is that we will continue to do our best. We're not through. We want to continue to see Nashboro continue to improve and become that beacon that it once was. And we feel like there's a ton of momentum there, and we're excited to be a part of it. Thank you again so much. We're honored.
I will now open the floor for nominations for Council President Pro Tem. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. It is my pleasure to nominate Councilmember Chris Harmon, who has served as Vice Chair of the Rules and Confirmation and Vice Chair of Budget and Finance. He's a member of the National Association of the Parliamentarians of Tennessee as well. He has desired to run for this position for some time, but he has quietly supported others. That is why I consider it a privilege, and I renew my nomination for Councilmember Chris Harmon as Speaker Pro Tem. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Councilmember Dominic?
Seeing no nominations, I move we accept Chris Harmon as Speaker Pro Tem by acclamation.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Congratulations. I will now accept nominations for the Chair of Planning, Zoning, and Historical Committee. Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I stand
with the honor of nominating my dear friend, Councilman Walter Hunt, who I've known for almost 20 years. He has served this community diligently, faithfully. He has concerned himself about the growth, the smart growth of our city. He has been around for a long time. Just ask him, and he will tell you about how the city has come so far in its growth. And not only in the community but which he serves as a district council person, but he has been involved with the county-wide development and growth of our great city. And because of his experience, his know-how, and his commitment, I stand proud to nominate Walter Hunt as chair of the Planning, Zoning, and Historical Committee.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to elect him by acclamation.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Congratulations, Councilman Hunt. We are now accepting nominations for the chair of the Traffic and Parking Committee. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor and members of the council. I rise proudly to nominate Councilmember Frank Harrison Jr. for the chair of Traffic and Parking Committee. Councilman Harrison has done an outstanding job serving in this role for the past 2 years and has been very dedicated in performing the duties of the position. He understands traffic and parking issues presented to him from council members, the public, and traffic and parking staff. I know that in this role, he will continue to serve the council and the city well. Thank you for your support in advance.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, is there a motion to elect Frank Harrison by acclamation? So moved. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Congratulations, Councilman Harrison. Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Had a couple this evening. First up on the Community Education Commission, we had a first-time appointment of Ms. Dalila Duarte. The committee recommended approval 7-4, 0 against, and I'd like to move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Next, for the Historical Commission, we had a reappointment of Mr. Bob Allen. Committee voted his approval 7-4, 0 against. I'd like to move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Also for the Historical Commission, reappointment of Dr. Bill McKee. Committee voted to defer 7-4, 0 against for one meeting. I'd like to move a one-meeting deferral.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the one-meeting deferral, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Finally, for the Metro Tourism and Convention Commission, first-time appointment of Mr. Randy Miller. Committee recommended approval 7-4, 0 against. I'd like to move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Dalila Duarte, Bob Allen, and Randy Miller. On behalf of the entire Metro Council, thank you for your willingness to serve our city and to donate your time and expertise. Thank you very much. Councilmember Gilmore, you wish to be recognized?
I do. Thank you, Vice Mayor and members of the council. It is my honor and delight tonight to recognize Dr. Lawson, who is with us, who is one of the great organizers of the civil rights movement here in Nashville. Also, a quick plug for the movie The Butler, who's based on Nashville. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but one of the main characters is based on Dr. Lawson. So we appreciate his work, his courage, and his stick-to-itiveness to move the ideas and just the things that we believe in as a country forward in the name of democracy. Thank you so much, and let's please stand and give him a hand.
We're now at the resolutions on our consent agenda. As we do, I will read all of them, and you can let me know if any need to be pulled. All of the resolutions currently on the consent agenda except for RS 2013-665. RS 2013-803 authorizes Director of Public Property to purchase 2 parcels of property located on Old Glenrose Avenue for the Metro Department of Parks and Recreation. 809 adopts an amendment to the 2013-2018 Consolidated Plan for Housing and Community Development and to the 2013 Annual Action Plan to be submitted to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. 810 appropriates $14,213,100 from the General Fund Reserve Fund to purchase miscellaneous equipment and repairs to buildings. 811 approves a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts to the Arts Commission for Public Art within Edmondson Park. 812 approves an application for a grant from the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee to the Sheriff's Department to building outdoor animal shelters. 813 approves an accountability incentive block grant program from the State Commission on Children and Youth to the Juvenile Court to enhance court staffing. 2018 approves an annual grant from the State Department of Correction to the state trial courts to fund Davidson County Community Corrections programs. 815 approves an interlocal agreement between Metro Government and the Emergency Communications District for services and the reimbursement of costs pertaining to 9/11 services. 816 approves a sole source contract with NEC Corporation of America for maintenance of the Integral ID system for the police department. 817 approves an interlocal agreement between the Office of Emergency Management and the City of Hendersonville to facilitate the purchase of equipment in accordance with the Port Security Grant Program. 818 approves an agreement between the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration and the Metro Police Department for assistance with the Middle Tennessee Drug Enforcement Task Force. 819 approves an intergovernmental agreement between the University of Massachusetts Lowell and the Metro Police Department to establish a research relationship. 820 approves a grant from the State Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish programs and deliver services to dislocated workers. 821 approves a grant from the State Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish programs and deliver services to adult workers. 822 approves a Fifth Amendment to a grant from Vanderbilt University to the Board of Parks and Recreation to collaborate on the Growing Right Into Wellness program to stop obesity in preschoolers. 823 authorizes the Department of Law to settle Metro government's property damage against Jolene Sanchez Romero. 865 establishes a residential caucus. I'm sorry, that one's not on the consent. 808 recognizes John W. Billy Lynch for his 45 years of outstanding service to Metro government. And 824 calls on the United States Congress to end sequestration and balance the federal budget in a way that will create jobs and strengthen communities. Do any of these need to be pulled? Seeing none, I will need committee reports. Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance approved all consent agenda items, 13 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Federal Grants Committee approved Bill number 2013809, 7-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Parks, Library, Recreation, and Public Entertainment Facility Committee approved all agenda items 5 for and 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Banks.
Personnel, thank you, Vice Mayor. Personnel Committee approved Resolution 2013-820 and 821, 5 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Bennett.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Safety approved all bills before it, 7 for, 0 against.
Thanks. Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Rules Committee approved all bills 7 for, 0 against, and I'd like to move approval of the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We'll now go back to RS 2013-665. It establishes a residential caucus to actively address municipal issues of the resident and citizens of Metro-Nashville. Councilmember Stanley.
Thank you, Ms. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Rules Committee voted to disapprove 5-2.
Thank you. Councilmember Stanley.
I would move that it be deferred indefinitely with a couple of brief comments, if I could.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Stanley.
I want to take this opportunity to thank all the individuals on the Metro Council, especially those council members that have voiced to me the need for a residential caucus. I think it's important to understand that in 1958, the citizens of Davidson County and Metro and citizens of the city of Nashville voted down the initial charter because the initial charter was going to reduce the size of the Metro Council from 30 to 21 members. In 1962, a second charter was put before the voting citizens of Davidson County and City of Nashville. It was passed because the city Metropolitan Council was increased from 30 to 40 members. I know that a lot of people in Davidson County felt like they were going to be completely ignored what they needed for their infrastructure in response to the city getting prior consideration. I think it's important that a residential caucus be established, but I want to say that I think it's important that a residential caucus be established and we can divide it equally among the citizens of Davidson County as the planning department did the sub-area plans starting in 1991. I think it's important that the 15 sub-areas be the initial step in determining where a city caucus should exist. I'll give you one example. The citizens of Donaldson, Hermitage, and Old Hickory, where I represent, are located. We have located council districts 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Those are 5 council districts in one area of the city. I think if we have a specific caucus for that sub-area, sub-area 14, then we will definitely get certain municipal departments to listen to what the council members have to say. I know that I've had numerous issues with different municipal departments because a lot of the directors of these municipal departments feel obligated first and foremost to the executive branch of Metro government. They do not feel obligated to the legislative branch of Metro government. They look upon us as one member of a 40-member Metro Council. So they will not give us fair or true answers, and it's up to the council member to go to the mayor at that time and then get the mayor to contact the department director and order them to take the appropriate action. I feel like a residential caucus would allow a unity in this body that has been unseen of since the establishment of the Metro Council in 1963. I think this unity will allow us to address all of our needs, infrastructure needs, because the substandard infrastructure all throughout Davidson County and Metropolitan Nashville is terrible. We are one of the worst cities with infrastructure issues throughout all of the nation. And one of the reasons is that a lot of the mayors that we've had to deal with, they want to establish a landmark for themselves in downtown Nashville. They do not want to establish they do not want to establish or address substandard infrastructure issues all throughout Davidson County. But Metro-Nashville represents the entire 73 square mile city of Nashville and the 526 square mile county of Davidson. So I will defer this indefinitely, but I want us to work together to make sure that we can establish a residential caucus divided between the Metro Council members. Thank you.
All in favor of indefinite deferral, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We have a late filed resolution. Authorizes Ash Shipping Retail LLC, DBA Savannah's Candy Kitchen to install an aerial encroachment at 308 Broadway. Councilmember Gilmore, the nature of the emergency.
The bill was given to me late by Public Works, so I will request a suspension of the rules, please, so that it could be submitted.
Any objection? Seeing none, Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you. I would like to move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Passes. Now we're at bills on introduction and first reading. Are any of these needing to be pulled? Councilmember Claiborne.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to pull 2013-523.
Okay. Any others? Okay, is there a motion for approval of BL 2013-524 and 525? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-523 is an ordinance amending Title IV of the Metro Code to establish community benefits agreement policy for the metropolitan government of Nashville and Davidson County, providing for local and apprentice hiring requirements for certain Metro government construction and development projects, and modifying the composition of the Procurement Standards Board. Councilmember Gilmore.
Yes, Vice Mayor, I stand and request that we ask all my council members that we move this bill forward. It's on first reading. I'm sorry, I make a motion to pass it with a brief explanation.
We have a motion
So
and a
passionate
second.
that I just got up into the discussion of it. I do apologize. I am asking all of my council members, no matter where you stand, if you would allow this to go through the process, like we've been doing all year, to go through first reading, and then on second, we discuss it more. This bill is very important to me. It's not just my bill. This bill was brought to me by the constituents of Nashville. There are a lot of people that are hurting in this city, and unfortunately, some of us have been so blessed that we don't realize it because all of our people are employed, all of our connections are employed. So I can understand you may not think it's a need for it, but however, there are some people in this city that do not have a job, that would like to work, that do not have the access and the connections that we do. And a lot of times we build these large-scale projects, and all this bill is simply saying it needs to be worked out. The way it looks today, it will in no way look in the end. It's just saying that we want our people in this city, if they're qualified and they go through workforce training, they go through unions, we go with other community partners to have a chance at these jobs. I think we have an idea of what poverty looks like, but I'm pretty clear we don't. I have to share a story with you quickly. When I was 27 years old with my daughter, I filed my taxes one year. I was working, I was fresh out of college. I filed my taxes and they showed $12,000 for a yearly income. So I think sometimes we make judgments on how people in poverty look, but we have no idea. So I carry this bill with passion and conviction that when we use city dollars, this is not even about private development, but when we use city dollars to build big things, that the people have a chance at it. And that's all I'm asking you today, to work with me, to work with this bill, so that people in Nashville will have a chance. All we're saying is bet on the people of Nashville, give them a chance, give them the jobs. We've got some infrastructure in place, and let's work on it, and let's give our people a chance. We worked on everything else. We passed big budgets. I've supported the convention center. Everything else, we're just saying, let's work with our local people and give them a chance. Not even preferential treatment. Let's just give them a chance. And so I renew my motion that we move forward. I hope that you will work with me on this bill if you got some issues with it, but that you'll let it go on through, and that we can critique it and work on it. I think the people of Nashville need jobs, and everybody's not in the same position that we are. So I renew my motion. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I applaud the council lady for her passion and dedication to bringing this bill forward, and I don't take exception to what she's trying to do. My reason for pulling the bill is that we have a letter on our desk from the finance director indicating that there are concerns about the physical impact of the bill to the government and also significant legal concerns. So I think if there's enough concern here to bring forth a letter such as this, that we at least as a body need to understand what these concerns are as we move into this process. So if the legal department or the finance director can address some of these concerns for us, that's my reason for pulling the bill.
I think the bill as written may have some legal issues. In particular, there does appear to be, in at least the draft that I read, a preference for local hiring, which is a very difficult thing for us to enforce, and not only that, but to put into law, given the constitutional issues surrounding that. So I think there are some legal issues. There are other parts of the bill that are not on their face illegal, but there are some that are. So I think there are things that we need to work on if this body wants to continue endorsing this bill. There's some things we'll need to work on, and that's. I don't know if there's any other questions on that. Thank you, Chairman.
Councilmember Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I do not want to talk on the bill, but I do want to just say that most bills on first reading, we generally are just ideas, and I urge the council members to vote for this as an idea. I hesitate, but the Honorable Mitchell and the Honorable Jernigan, when you are at the legislature, you usually vote twice on first reading and second reading at the legislature and vote for every bill up there, whether you're for it or not. And that happens on that part of the Hill, and that means they vote two times, a lot of times for bills that they may not be for. So tradition-wise, I would urge you just to vote for the idea and let this go from there. Thank you.
Councilmember Barry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Previous question.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of previous question, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Previous question passes. We're now at bills on second reading. I'm sorry. Got ahead of myself. All in favor of BL 2013-523, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Now we're going to bills on second reading. The first one is BL 2013-517, amends the Metro Code pertaining to the use of diversified business enterprises and participation in the Metro Workforce Development Program by recipients of economic development incentives. Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance approved 13-4, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilmember Maynard.
Vice Mayor, I would like to move for approval of this bill with a brief comments.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Maynard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Back in 2008, Council Lady Megan Berry, along with Councilman Sam Coleman, co-sponsored the bill that was brought by the Mayor's office creating the Diversified Business Program. At that time, we had approximately 40 small business, women-owned business, and minority-owned business doing business with Metro government. 40. After we passed that bill unanimously, 6 years later of hard work by this council that you all did, we now have over 450 small women and minority-owned businesses doing business with Metro government, resulting in over $506 million being spent with small women and minority-owned business. Prior to the Music City Center, we did not have a workforce development program for Metro. However, Councilman Linnell Matthews, who led the way in creating the workforce development program with the Music City Center that was funded by this body at our last budget, when we passed our last budget here in 2013, we voted unanimously for the substitute budget, which funded the workforce development program. One of the reasons why we had a unanimous vote, because the workforce development program has been quite successful. Let me just give you a couple highlights. The workforce development program had 5,000 applicants, 2,000 residents received job training, over 400 received jobs at the Music City Center over the last 2 years, and over 100 have received jobs at the Omni Hotel over the last 2 years. So what we have done as a Metro Council, as a body, we have funded and passed legislation that works, that helps our residents get jobs. It helps small businesses, which is the engine of our economy, to get contracts with Metro government. Let me just give you a couple more facts and I will sit down. Of the Music City Center, of all the money that was spent, $135 million was spent with small, women, and minority-owned businesses, for a total of 132 small businesses that participated. That represented 30% of the Music City Center and its spending dollars. At the Omni, they did even better than we did. 40.9% of all contracts went to small businesses. That resulted in over $90 million being spent with small businesses, for a total number of 42 small businesses getting contracts with the Omni. Guess what we then did? This body then passed unanimously for those two programs to be applied for the HCA development. So we voted unanimously to have these two programs work with the HCA development on West End. All this legislation does is say, let's extend it. Let's just extend it. It's working. It's great. It's been quite successful. We voted unanimously for it, both in spending and supporting in the spending dollars, as well as creating this particular program. I'm asking you to vote for it today so we can support what has worked and been successful, because you've already voted unanimously for it twice. Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-518 approves a lease agreement between Metro Government and the Sports Authority for property at Global Mall for a new hockey facility. Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance, am I the only committee, Madam Vice Mayor? Budget and Finance approved 13-4-0 against. I'd like to move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-519 approves a construction agreement between Metro Government and the CSX Transportation, Inc. Councilmember Matthews.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Allen, can you do the Parks report?
Park supported this bill 5-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic voted 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance approved 13-4-0 against. I'd like to move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-520 authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to accept an easement for 3 parcels of property for use in connection with the Mill Creek Greenway. Councilmember Dow.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic voted 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Allen.
Parks voted 5-4-0 against.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance voted 13-4-0 against.
And I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-521 authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to accept an easement for use in connection with the Whites Creek Greenway. Councilmember Matthews.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Allen.
Parks voted 5-4-0 against.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic voted 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance approved 13-4-0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-522 accepts permanent easements for the Windermere Drive Stormwater Improvement Project for 3 properties located at 2740, 2744, and 2748 Windermere Drive. Councilmember Claiborne.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Potts.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works voted to approve 7-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic voted to approve 10-0, and I would move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on third reading. BL 2012-103 changes 40.18 acres from RM6 to SP zoning for property located at Franklin Limestone Road unnumbered for an asphalt plant and associated uses, including temporary mineral extraction, allowing blasting and crushing of stone for sale and transfer from the site during the site preparation for the asphalt plant. I would ask everyone in the chamber to be seated, please. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic voted 10-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Vice Mayor, I intend to move for approval with a brief explanation.
Are you moving the bill or an amendment?
I need to move an amendment first.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Councilmember?
The amendment, John, would you mind sharing the 4 things that amendment does?
The amendment adds an additional 6.5 feet of right-of-way to be dedicated along Franklin Limestone Road, and an additional 20 feet of landscape buffer at the D3 planning level, which is the highest landscape buffer in the code. It includes a provision that once the new asphalt plant becomes operational, the old plant is to cease operation and the equipment is not to be transferred to another business for use on that site as an asphalt plant. There's a donation of a 6-acre site within the floodplain area to be used for public park or greenway purposes. That would be donated to the Parks Board. And finally, there's seismograph monitoring requirements and a third-party verification of the monitoring and the results of the seismographic monitoring submitted to the Metro Council office to my attention on a monthly basis, which would be a public record once it is delivered to our office.
Thank you, John. That particular amendment was helped be crafted by the zoning administrator to make sure that it was enforceable. In particular, the language requires that the current operation be rendered inoperable, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, John? Thank you. And I move approval of the amendment.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember?
Do we need to take a vote on that?
I didn't know if you wanted to say anything else.
The amendment's been discussed thoroughly. Let's talk about the bill once the amendment's moved.
All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. Councilman Dominy.
Thank you very much. The asphalt is something that every person in this room, I dare say, traveled on to get here. It's something every district council member in this body desires more of in their district to improve our streets. It's something that's necessary for the city of Nashville to thrive. And the fact is, it has to be produced somewhere. For 30 years, it's been produced here in the community that I love and serve. And in fact, for 28 years, there have been 2 plants operating within this community, little more than 3/4 of a mile apart. In fact, the very residents have claimed that they were unaware of those 2 facilities. Most of the opposition, in fact, have told me they were unaware of those 2 facilities. This proposal will render one of those inoperable and replace it with a state-of-the-art facility, which, according to the health department, which you'll see on your desk, would be able to reduce emissions to half of what is currently permitted. So it's a 50% reduction for that plant and a 25% net reduction within the community. The current zoning on that property was passed in 2004. At that time, the community plan, which called for industrial use of this property, was changed to permit apartments to be rezoned for that, and it was rezoned to RM6, which includes 241 apartments on that parcel. According to the Planning Commission, the planning staff, and the Public Works Department, those apartments would generate 1,600 road trips on Franklin Limestone Road, which everybody agrees is a dangerous road. Most everybody agrees that 1,600 road trips would be troublesome for the community. The reason I support this, one of the many reasons, was that the planning trips currently approved for that property is 1,600. The trips approved with this would be 90. That is just 6% of the traffic impact to the community. 70 of those 90 would be trucks, which are required by law and specifically in this ordinance to go towards Antioch Pike, away from the neighborhoods within the community that have existed. Many of them were built after the existence of the two asphalt plants which have been there, and one of which will be closed down. The proximity of this plant would be further away from the nearest residents, further away from the Mill Creek, and on a higher flood elevation. And there's a lot of other details I can share with you. I will enter into the record a couple of medical journal publications, one from the Journal of Environmental and Occupational Environmental Medicine. That was published in 2002. And I'll remain quiet unless someone wants to yield their time.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to yield my time to Councilmember Dominic.
Councilmember Dominic.
Thank you. First time I've used my full 4 minutes. But one of these published in 2002, I'm sure it's on everybody's reading stand by their nightstand in their restroom, Journal of Occupational and Environmental Science, published 2002, shows no correlation between cancer and other lung disease from asphalt industry.
Would you please give that to the Sergeant at Arms?
I'll do both of those at the same time. The other one published in the Environmental Health Perspectives in 2010. That was October 2010. And it's definitely a little small publication because this is on pages 1,418. So it's further on in the book, but that's something I'm sure you want to read. Keep Sominex out of business that way. But so the health concerns are not present according to published scientific data. There's been a lot of concerns about the health, and I'll tell you, my home is 1/2 mile from this proposed location. I can assure you with no uncertainty that if there was a credible source of health impact for me, my family, or this community, we would not be here discussing this. And in closing, I'll recap. The zoning replaces a 28-year-old building with a state-of-the-art facility, providing a net increase of reduction of 25% in emissions. It reduces traffic to just 6%. The applicant has committed to the same size facility as they currently have, only updated to a state-of-the-art operation. The location is further away from the creek, further away from the nearest home, and on a higher elevation outside the floodplain. And in that, I ask for your support.
All in favor of the bill as amended, please say aye. Opposed, no. We need a machine vote. Has everyone voted? Madam Clerk, please close the machines and tally the vote.
30 yes, 4 no, 3 abstentions.
The bill as amended passes. Next is BL 2013-474, changes 10.37 acres from IG to MUIA zoning for properties located at 400 Davidson Street. Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning Zoning Historic voted 10-0 against.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
I would vote to, or propose to defer this for one meeting.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of a one-meeting deferral, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-489 makes provisions to 1,304.49 acres of the Murfreesboro Road Urban Design Overlay to various properties located along Anderson Road, Bell Road, Forest View Drive, Hamilton Church Road, Hamilton Crossing, Hobson Pike, Hurricane Creek Boulevard, Logistics Way, Maxwell Road, Morris Gentry Boulevard, Mountain Springs Road, Mountain View Circle, Mountain View Road, Murfreesboro Pike, Old Hickory Boulevard, Parks Retreat Drive, Pinhook Road, Rural Hill Road, and Summercrest Boulevard. Councilmember Johnson.
I'd like to move for approval with a brief explanation.
Councilman Claiborne, do you have committee report?
I
I'm
do.
sorry.
Planning, Zoning, Historic approved 10-0.
Thank you. And Councilmember Johnson, do you have a substitute?
Yes, I'd like to move to substitute. Thanks.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilmember Johnson?
Do I go back
You
and
make
say?
a motion on the
Okay.
bill as substituted.
Okay, I'd like to move as substituted.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Okay, and can I make a brief comment as I had
Too
stated?
late.
Okay,
You should
thank
have
you.
said.
I said it at the
waited.
beginning.
I hesitated.
Okay, thanks.
RS 2013-490 changes 130.74 acres from R10 to RS10 zoning for various properties located along Anton Drive, Creekside Drive, East Ridge Drive, Haywood Lane, Keeley Drive, Lotuswood Drive, Packard Drive, and West Valley Drive. Councilmember Potts.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic approved 10-0.
Councilmember Potts.
I'd like to make a motion for approval with a brief comment.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Potts.
First of all, I'd just like to thank all the neighbors and residents that made this happen. It was a very important zoning change for this area. It's going to preserve the character of this neighborhood, and I'll renew my motion for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-491 changes .81 acres from IR to MULA zoning for property located at 4111 Charlotte Avenue. Councilmember Holloman.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic approved 10-0.
Councilmember Holloman.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
BL 2013-492 amends .2 acres of the Blakemore Primitive Baptist Church Specific Plan District for property located at 2411 B Blakemore Avenue to construct a roof over an outdoor terrace along Blakemore Avenue and to modify conditions in the original SP approval pertaining to outdoor music, hours of operation, and the allowance of outdoor events. Councilmember Allen.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic approved 10-0.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen.
Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-493 changes .2 acres from RS 7.5 to R6 zoning for property located at 3533 Brick Church Pike. Councilmember Hunt.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic approved 10-0.
Councilmember Hunt.
Move for approval. Please, ma'am.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-495 changes .18 acres from OR 20 to OR 20A zoning for property located at 813 19th Avenue North. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic approved 10-0.
Councilmember Langster.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-496 changes 2.17 acres from IWD to MUL zoning for property located at 270 Venture Circle. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic approved 10-0.
Okay, Councilmember, I think, are you sure? I think I have it was deferred by rule.
That's true. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I made a mistake.
We never do that.
I still have jet lag.
Okay. Councilmember Harrison.
I move we defer one meeting.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for one meeting deferral. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Opposed,
no. Motion passes. BL 2013-497 changes 12.24 acres from SP to MUG property zoning for property located at 4235 Murfreesboro Pike. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. If I may take a point of personal privilege, I'd ask that everyone can keep Councilman Duvall's granddaughter in their prayers. She is at the hospital at the moment, which is why he's had to step out. And on with the bill. Committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Vice Mayor, in giving my last Planning Zoning Commission and Historic report, I'd like to thank the members of the council for the privilege of serving you as your representative on the Planning Commission for the past 2 years. And I gladly defer to Councilman Hunt 2 major meetings in the off weeks now, so you can have 1 major meeting each week. Planning, Zoning, Historic voted to approve 10-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Dominy.
And on behalf of Councilman Duvall, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-508 amends the Metro Code pertaining to the procedures for the submission of complaints alleging violations of the standards of conduct. Councilmember Davis.
All committees in, I'd like to move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-509 declares parcels of Metro government-owned property to be surplus and authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to sell the property. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
They're all in.
Oh, sorry. I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-510 authorizes Metro government to negotiate and accept permanent and temporary easements for the Hydes Ferry Road Stormwater Improvement Project for 21 properties located along Ashton Avenue, Elizabeth Road, Hydes Ferry Road, and John Mallet Drive. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I believe all reports are in on this one, so I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-511 authorizes Metro government to abandon 218 linear feet of an existing 38-inch stormwater pipe located at 465 Donaldson Pike. Councilmember Claiborne.
With all the committees approved, I would move the bill for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-512 authorizes Metro government to accept permanent and temporary easements for the Old Matthews Road Stormwater Improvement Project for properties located along Old Matthews Road, Brick Church Pike, and Gwenwood Road. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you.
Try again.
Hello. Thank you, Vice Mayor. All committees are in. I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor, please say aye.